In my past life, my younger sister, Chloe, entangled herself in a scandalous affair with a male colleague at work. When she came home, her husband, Leo, subjected her to brutal domestic violence. The worst beating left her with 2 broken ribs, hospitalized for nearly half a month. During that time, Leo vanished without a trace. My husband, Ethan, and I poured our time and money into caring for her, yet she showed no gratitude. Later, when she and Leo accidentally killed someone, she asked me to take the fall for them, and I foolishly agreed. After I was imprisoned, Chloe and Leo used the excuse that half of our house belonged to me, giving them the right to live there. They forcefully moved into my home with my husband. Ethan, a polite and educated civil servant, was no match for Leo's cunning and Chloe's malicious heart. One day, Chloe and Leo got my husband drunk, faked an affair, and then called all our neighbors to witness it, forcing Ethan to sign over the house. Pushed to his absolute limit, my husband chose to jump from our building, ending his own life. The news of my husband's death reached me while I was still in prison. Overwhelmed by grief, I too breathed my last. When I opened my eyes again, I suddenly found myself alive. The phone rang and I froze, seeing Chloe's name on the screen. What was happening? Hadn't I died? I answered and Chloe's panicked voice came through. Sophia, hurry to my office. Something's happened. What is it? Just get here, you'll see. Hurry. Her voice was thick with sobs. I could also hear a woman's angry shouting on the other end. I suddenly realized that I had truly been given a second chance at life. I looked at the clock, and it was exactly as it had been in my past life. The same messy situation. She was entangled with a male colleague, and his wife had come to cause a scene. Her husband, Leo, often beat her, and truthfully, it wasn't without reason. She was lazy, vain, and flirted everywhere without any sense of right or wrong. It was a pity that in my past life, I had been too protective, always thinking she was still a child, waiting for her to mature and improve. But I never lived to see that day. This time, having lived again, I understood. Let everyone be responsible for their own life. I'd wait and see what scheme she was up to this time. I took a taxi to her office. One side of her face was already swollen. The people in the office stood around, watching the commotion. Seeing me, she immediately burst into tears. "Sophia, she hit me," she cried, pointing at Mark's wife. Mark, the colleague, stood silently in a corner, looking like a turtle retreating into its shell. Chloe must have thought I would ignore right and wrong and immediately attack the other woman. In my past life, that's exactly what I did. "You're her older sister, aren't you? You didn't teach your sister right, letting her do such shameless things. Now you even dare to call family for help." Mark's wife spoke up before I could say anything. "I believe my sister isn't that kind of person," I replied calmly. "She hit me," Chloe repeated, urging me to get revenge as if I were her dog, waiting for a command to bite. "It's all right, don't worry," I reassured her, as if I were a detached observer. "This is a lawful society. I've already called the police. They should be here soon." "Why call the police?" Chloe panicked. "She hit me." "This is a big deal, of course. We have to call the police. We'll have them come and see if you deserved that slap," Mark's wife retorted fiercely. Mark hurriedly stepped forward. "It's a misunderstanding. No need to call the police. If the police come to the office, our boss will find out, and both you and your sister will lose your jobs." "What, scared now? Last night you were so bold, claiming nothing happened," Mark's wife scoffed. "Even if you delete all the evidence, the police have ways to recover data in a matter of seconds. Then we'll see what your colleagues think of you both." "What are you doing? If you lose your job, what will your family eat?" Mark pleaded with his wife. "I'm already old. Do you think it's easy to find another job?" Chloe immediately chimed in. "Sophia, why don't you tell the police not to come? It'll cause a bad impression. But what about her hitting me?" "It's just a misunderstanding, let it go," I said, feigning gentleness. Chloe glared angrily at Mark's wife, then gave Mark a cold, sharp look. "Fine, then let it go. But remember, next time something happens, call the police immediately. If you're in the right, there's nothing to fear." She shot me a meaningful glance before finally stopping. This slap, she seemed to think, was an injustice she had to endure, a memorable lesson. In truth, I said that on purpose. I knew most of her troubles were self-inflicted. She didn't dare call the police because she knew she was in the wrong. She was only used to relying on my unconditional indulgence, treating me like her personal cleanup crew. Sophia, Leo hit me again? On the phone, Chloe sobbed uncontrollably like a pear blossom drenched in rain. It was the same in my past life. Every time she was beaten, she would come to me crying. I would advise her to call the police, to divorce, to get a medical examination. But in the end, Leo only needed a few sweet words, and she would calm down, even turning to scold me, blaming me for not caring about her, always instigating a divorce. Which married couple doesn't argue sometimes? You and Ethan argue all the time, but you still live together. I listened to the phone call without much attention. Leo hit me? Chloe sounded incredulous. If it had been before, upon receiving such a call, I would have immediately gone to pick her up, taken her to the hospital, meticulously cared for her, and then joined her in cursing Leo. Afterward, Leo would just sweet-talk her, and she'd go back home. It was a never-ending cycle. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. I know, but you two are husband and wife. Arguments in bed lead to reconciliation in bed. Don't make such a fuss about family matters. Next time something like this happens, don't tell me. I'm busy with work. I'm hanging up now. Unexpectedly, that evening, after work, Chloe, uninvited, came and sat in our living room, sobbing. At that moment, Ethan was busy in the kitchen. I walked over, hugged him, and whispered, "I'm sorry, darling. In my past life, you suffered such a tragic end because of me. This time, rest assured, we will definitely be together until our hair turns gray." Ethan turned and asked, "What's wrong? Did your boss scold you?" He was always so gentle. "No, it's nothing. Just a bit tired from work," I evaded, but behind me, Chloe wasn't having it. "Sophia, don't you see I'm here?" In my past life, at this point, I would have rushed out, checking her injuries and comforting her. Instead, I replied, "Since you're here, have dinner first, then go home. Ethan's already cooking." I pretended not to notice the bruises on her face. "Sophia, Leo is truly awful. He drank until midnight last night, and he even had lipstick marks on him. I just said a few words." She pulled at her shirt, revealing purple bruises. Look at this." I glanced at them briefly and said, "Your marital squabbles aren't worth making a fuss over. Eat quickly and go home early before Leo worries." "Sophia, are you even my sister anymore?" Chloe was surprised by my unusual attitude. "This is the life you chose. As your sister, it's not appropriate for me to say anything. I respect your choices." After dinner, I urged Chloe to leave quickly. After all, Ethan and I had just been reunited, and I wanted to enjoy some private time. "Sophia, can you lend me some money? Leo gambles and wastes money all day. I don't even have money for food." In my past life, I was too fond of her. Whatever she asked for, I gave her. "I haven't received my salary yet. I'll give it to you when I do." After seeing Chloe to the door, I said, "It's dark. Be careful on your way," then closed the door firmly. Ethan looked at me and smiled. "You're really different today." "Different how?" I hugged him tightly. "You're such a kind and gentle man, yet in my past life, you were driven to suicide. I'm so lucky to have this chance to make amends to you." Some time later, I received a call from a mall security guard saying Chloe had shoplifted and asking me to come resolve the situation. How annoying, I thought to myself. The guard said Chloe absolutely refused to admit she had stolen anything. I immediately told them they could call the police. The guard seemed surprised. Calling the police could lead to her being charged. We have cameras, but it's always better to resolve things privately if possible. "I know you have cameras, that's why I told you to call the police," I replied. "Don't say anything to my sister. Just tell her sister isn't answering the phone." I gave clear instructions. This incident wasn't a one-off in my past life. The reason was always the same. She had no money but loved expensive cosmetics. My own income was average and I was married. I wouldn't even spend extravagantly on myself, so how could I use my husband's money to support her? She knew I couldn't bear to abandon her, so she'd pull this stunt every few months. In my past life, fearing she would be arrested, I always gritted my teeth and paid for her. This time, I put my phone on silent and didn't answer. About 2 hours later, I feigned panic and called back. "What's wrong? You called me so many times." Her voice was weak. "Nothing, it's nothing. It's good that you're okay. Well, I'm hanging up now." I hung up, shaking my head helplessly. As for why she wasn't taken in, she probably paid for it herself or returned the items. I didn't even care to wonder. I hoped this time she understood that I was no longer the soft-hearted sister who would unconditionally protect her. If I were to say I resented her for my death in the past life, truthfully, I did. But more than resentment, there was self-reproach. It was my own indulgence that had made her selfish and overly dependent. If I gradually withdrew from her life, perhaps she would become self-reliant. I still wanted to be sisters with her. After all, in this world, we were each other's last remaining family. But then I realized that was just my unilateral wish. That evening, when I came home from work, I found Ethan sitting motionless on the sofa. It was rare for him not to be cooking or greeting me. Sensing something was wrong, I sat beside him and gently asked, "What's wrong?" Ethan seemed to gather all his courage. "Sophia, we've been married for 2 years. I'm happy with your personality, but there's one thing that makes me unhappy. You indulge your sister too much. But I also understand the bond you two share, relying on each other since childhood. That's why I've never blamed you." He paused as if observing my reaction. I took his hand, encouraging him. "It's okay, just say it directly. I've already died once. What else can I not accept?" Ethan stood up and led me into the bedroom. The dressing table drawer was open and precious jewelry had vanished. The wardrobe had been ransacked, clothes scattered everywhere. The 10,000 yuan in cash I kept inside was also gone. I looked at him, confused. A robbery. Ethan forced a smile. "At first, I thought it was a robbery too, but the lock on the door was untouched. Knowing you were at work, I was afraid you'd worry, so I checked the building's security cameras. You can guess who it was, can't you?" His eyes were filled with unspoken meaning. "Sophia, if you keep indulging your sister like this, I'm afraid I won't have the courage to continue living with you." His eyes were red, showing an unspeakable weariness. I walked over and hugged him, whispering, "I'm sorry, I handled it wrong. Please give me some time. I promise this will be the last time, okay?" I was sure Chloe had taken advantage of my inattention to copy the house keys. But this time, I wouldn't call the police. Even if I did, family theft charges would be treated lightly and wouldn't solve the root problem. So, Ethan and I pretended not to know who took the items. "Sophia, if I catch this thief, I won't let them off." Chloe pretended ignorance, inquiring, "Have you called the police?" "Oh, just let it go. Who knows, maybe they have their own difficulties," I said, and saw her subtly sigh in relief. Previously, when Chloe wanted to marry Leo, a good-for-nothing, I fiercely opposed it. Leo's family was poor, he was a high school dropout, only doing odd jobs with unstable income. But he had some looks and a smooth tongue, so Chloe was determined to marry him. Afterward, she became pregnant. Who knew that even after marriage, she would still flirt around, acting carelessly? During one beating, she unfortunately miscarried. Despite this, their marriage inexplicably remained strong. According to my past life memories, it wouldn't be long before Chloe would bring Leo to borrow money, claiming they needed to invest in a big project, promising to live well and treat me kindly afterward. In my past life, out of pity for my sister, I didn't hesitate to give them the money. As a result, they took all the money Ethan and I had worked so hard to save, only to be swindled out of 200,000 yuan. In this life, I was determined not to let the past repeat itself. I went online and found someone to forge a medical report, then instructed Ethan to cooperate with me, waiting for the two of them to arrive. "Sophia, Ethan, Leo, and I are here to visit you." Chloe pulled Leo into the house, intimately clinging to him. There were still bruises on her face, but she seemed to have forgotten who had beaten her a few days ago. This time, they brought 2 cartons of milk, the only time they ever brought anything when they visited. I saw them constantly exchanging knowing glances, immediately realizing they were about to ask for something. I quickly pulled Chloe's hand, turned to Leo and said, "Leo, I only have one younger sister. Our family was poor when we were kids, and our parents died early. I gave her everything best I could. She's my precious treasure." Hearing me say that, Chloe couldn't hide her joy and was about to speak when I interrupted her. "But I'm afraid I won't be able to see you two have children, grow old, and live happily anymore." Tears streamed down my face. Ethan, beside me, cooperated by gently patting my shoulder, showing comfort. "Sophia, what are you talking about?" Chloe sensed something was wrong. I turned to Ethan. "Their family, there's no need to hide it anymore. Take it out." Ethan sadly took out a medical report and handed it to Chloe. Breast cancer. Chloe and Leo exchanged glances. It's early stage, I said. The doctor said it can be cured with early treatment, but the cost is enormous. Sophia, Ethan, I just remembered I have something to do. I'll go first. You two can continue talking. Leo stood up, intending to leave. Go? Why don't you go together? Otherwise, you'll have to take another taxi later. It's quite expensive. I looked at Chloe. She hurriedly pulled Leo away, not forgetting to take the 2 cartons of milk with them. Ethan let out a helpless chuckle, but both of us felt much more relieved. In my past life, Ethan had advised me not to interfere too much in their marriage, but I didn't listen. The fake cancer diagnosis would be exposed sooner or later, but concealing it for a while was enough. Given their lazy and pleasure-seeking personalities, knowing I had no money, they would surely find other ways to get it, and others wouldn't be as lenient as I had been. Indeed, a month later, I received a call from Chloe. Her voice was choked with sobs. Sophia, do you know? He knew you had cancer, but for an entire month he didn't even ask about you. He truly has no conscience. What's wrong? I asked, feigning weariness. Leo caused big trouble? Her voice was full of fear. I was truly curious. Unable to get money from me, what exactly had they done to earn money? Leo said he wanted to give me a better life, so he borrowed money from loan sharks to invest. As a result, he was swindled. Now those people are at my house. Over the phone, I heard Leo groaning. Sophia, they're saying they'll chop off Leo's hand. If only you had lent us money earlier, we wouldn't be in this predicament. The implication was clear. They were blaming me. I'm at the hospital now, you know. I don't have any money either. I even have to borrow money for my treatment. Chloe didn't even remember that I, her sister, who was supposedly suffering from a serious illness, also needed care. Sophia, doesn't your husband still have the house? Why don't you sell it first? We'll pay you back when we have money. That house belongs to Ethan. I can't decide on it. Don't pretend with me. Doesn't Ethan listen to everything you say? You're dying anyway, you have cancer. I was furious. Throughout the entire conversation, not a single word of concern for my health. This was the sister I had loved so wholeheartedly in my past life. You know, even if you treat cancer, it won't be cured. Might as well save the money, she mumbled. I angrily hung up. Afterward, I heard that Chloe had used her own body to serve each person in the loan shark group just to get a 1-week extension. Sophia, where are you? I've been to your house several times but haven't seen anyone, Chloe texted. I wondered if she had finally remembered to care about me. Do you need anything? I'm at the hospital. In reality, Ethan and I had temporarily moved to my mother-in-law's house to avoid being bothered. Sophia, what should Leo do now? You're my biological sister, but you won't help me. You can't even save yourself. It seems your heart is truly cold. Sophia, please, beg Ethan to mortgage the house first. We'll redeem it when we have money. Again, the house. How much did you two borrow anyway? 200,000. But those bastards are making us pay back 500,000. We're victims of fraud too. Is it always everyone else's fault? Why don't you say you two are foolish? Sophia, why would you say that? We have no other choice. I calmly replied, this illness is like a bottomless pit. Ethan can't bear it anymore and wants a divorce. I fabricated the story, saying there was no more hope, and then hung up. Ethan, beside me, gently patted my shoulder in comfort. Unexpectedly, the next day, Chloe ran straight to Ethan's workplace and caused a scene. She cursed at him, saying he abandoned his family in times of trouble, calling him a heartless wolf, even saying he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Colleagues who didn't know the full story started pointing and whispering. Ethan's superior called him in, reminded him to properly handle his family matters, and then return to work. I'm so sorry, I dragged you into this trouble again, I said, feeling incredibly guilty. It's all right, consider it a short vacation. At least we can be together for a few days, Ethan said, still gentle. A gentleness I felt was the only gift fate had bestowed upon me. That night, while scrolling through social media, I saw Chloe's updated status, a picture of her bruised and pathetic face. I didn't stop, just scrolled past immediately. She probably thought I would be heartbroken to see it. 3 days remained until the repayment deadline. This time, the loan sharks certainly wouldn't be easy on them. They would push Chloe and Leo to the brink. In my past life, at this very moment, they called to trick me into coming over. It turned out Leo had been staking out a wealthy family in the neighborhood. In the middle of the night, he broke in to steal. Making a noise, he startled the homeowner. In a panic, he and Chloe killed the homeowner to escape punishment. Chloe called, weeping and claiming she was pregnant and couldn't go to prison. Leo also couldn't go to prison, or their child would be fatherless. They begged me to take the blame. I foolishly agreed, only to later find out Chloe wasn't pregnant at all. They stole my freedom, and in return, I received only ingratitude. Not only did they seize my and Ethan's home, but they also drove him to his death. Tonight was the crucial night. Sure enough, thunder and lightning began, just like in my past life. This was the moment Leo chose to break into that house. Ethan and I turned off our phones and went to bed early, but neither of us could sleep. I knew that in the early hours of this morning, an innocent person would lose their life. If I hadn't indulged my sister, how could they have become so cruel? But there was nothing I could do. Should I go to the police and say I dreamt of a murder? Even if Leo didn't act today, he still had tomorrow, the day after, and the days after that. Once a heart turns evil, there's no way to stop it. In the darkness, I looked at the clock. It was 2 a.m. In my past life, this was the exact hour that sealed my tragic fate. A frantic knocking echoed at the door. I startled, looking at the clock. It was 3 a.m. Ethan also awoke. "Who is it?" in the middle of the night. "It's me, Ethan. Sophia, are you home?" Chloe's voice from outside was full of worry. Ethan recognized her voice, thinking it must be urgent, and went to open the door. I quickly turned on my phone. Sure enough, there were over a dozen missed calls from Chloe and Leo. I immediately called an old classmate, Officer Ryan, who was a police officer. He never turned off his phone or put it on silent. When the call connected, I quickly said, "My sister came to my house in the middle of the night, looking very panicked. It's probably the loan sharks coming to collect debt, but I don't have proof. Please don't hang up. If anything dangerous happens, come help us immediately." Officer Ryan said he was busy with a major case recently, sleepless nights, and told me not to hang up. He said if he heard anything unusual, he would immediately come to our rescue. Only after arranging everything did I open the bedroom door. "Sophia, hurry, come with me, it's urgent." Chloe pulled me towards the door. "What's so urgent in the middle of the night? Let me come along, I can help." Ethan put on his coat, intending to follow. "No need," Chloe almost commanded. I noticed dark red wet stains on her dark jeans. It was probably the homeowner's blood. "It's all right, you go back to sleep. I'll go with her and see what's happening," I reassured Ethan. In truth, I didn't want him involved in this mess. In my past life, I was tricked by my sister to the murder scene. This life, the situation had changed, but I didn't know how it would unfold. When we arrived, the house was dimly lit. The light from the streetlights was barely enough to see a man lying motionless on the floor. My heart sank. In the end, it still happened. Leo sat slumped in a corner, blank and silent. Chloe, on the other hand, was surprisingly calm. She pulled me close to force me to take the blame. "Sophia, all these years, you've loved me like a mother. I know everything is my fault, that I've been foolish and always dragged you down." She knelt before me, tears streaming down her face, bowing repeatedly. I looked at my phone and saw Officer Ryan hadn't hung up, which eased my mind somewhat. "Sophia, please, help me one last time. I'm pregnant, I can't go to prison. Leo can't go to prison either, or our baby will have no father." "So, what do you plan to do?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "You take the blame for us. Anyway, you have cancer, you won't live much longer. You go to prison for us and we'll live well for you. Our parents definitely won't blame you." I looked at the sister I had raised and protected with all my love. A sharp slap landed across her face. "You're my biological sister, you know?" Ignoring her, I took off my jacket and tried to stop the bleeding of the man on the floor. "What are you doing?" Chloe shrieked. "Don't you see? As long as he's alive, you won't be charged with murder. Confess, and your sentence will be reduced." "Sophia, we can't go to prison." Chloe clutched my arm, then turned and yelled at Leo. "What are you still standing there for? It's almost dawn." Hearing that, Leo picked up the blood-stained hammer and started moving towards the man. Leo, think carefully. Intentional murder is completely different from manslaughter. I desperately tried to buy time. Leo seemed to hesitate, standing still. Slap, Chloe slapped him hard across the face. Useless. Then she snatched the hammer and strode towards the man. I lunged, shielding the injured man, my heart filled with remorse for not being able to prevent this. But even with a sliver of hope, I wanted to save him. Get out of the way, Chloe raised the hammer. You save strangers, but you just stand by and watch your own sister go to prison. I gripped her hand, softly pleading, don't make another mistake. This is a human life. She struggled, unable to break free, so she turned and screamed at Leo. What are you staring at? Come here and help me. Leo obeyed, grabbing my arms and pressing me to the floor, rendering me immobile. No, I screamed in despair. Chloe smiled victoriously, raising the hammer high. Don't move, hands on your head, sit down, or I'll shoot. Officer Ryan's voice rang out as he and his team stormed in. They quickly subdued both Chloe and Leo, while the paramedics took the injured man away. It's okay, his heart rate is normal. He's fine, Officer Ryan reassured me. I trembled, speechless, a mix of relief and shock. Finally, the two of them were taken away. Officer Ryan, thinking I was too shocked to speak, said, Come on, I'll take you home. We'll take your statement tomorrow. In the distance, I saw Ethan standing at the entrance of the apartment complex, pacing back and forth anxiously. As soon as he saw me, he rushed over. Where have you been? I couldn't reach you. I was worried sick. I hugged him tightly, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. Thank goodness, in this life we're both safe. In this life, I'll never be a saintly sister again.